Hey everybody, welcome to the How They Did It podcast, episode 6. I'm here with my main man Derek. We're actually family, but recently when I was in Florida, we went out to dinner and he was telling about the successes he's been having with his business. I was really excited. I wanted to have him on the podcast. I had a whole bunch of questions for him. I tried to save as much as I could till now, so I'm coming in like a complete noob, but he has REI Inbound Strategist. He owns a company. He has over 20 clients. He started it 4 years ago, and he's a successful young man in Miami, Florida. No longer Miami, Florida, but was Miami, Florida. Now in
Yep.
West Palm Beach, Florida.
Yep.
Derek, really quickly, tell me exactly what you do in REI Inbound Strategist.
Yeah. So REI Inbound Strategist is it's basically my personal brand. My company helps real estate investors with inbound marketing. So I work with wholesalers, rehabbers, and investors. So these are people that are looking for basically distressed or motivated house sellers. So they're basically, they're investors. They're trying to either flip a property, rehab it and flip it, or just wholesale it. So they're looking the type of leads that they're looking for. They're looking for people that own a home that is distressed, that has some issues, that maybe they don't want to fix it up and they just want to sell it quickly for cash, or maybe they're in the motivation of the seller. Maybe they're in a distressed situation, right? So maybe they're behind on their payments, they're going through divorce, they're relocating really quickly. Maybe they're in the military, they just have to sell and move real fast. Like there's a lot of different situations where someone a where going through the process of a realtor and having to wait and list it on the market, it's just not going to work for them for whatever reasons. So in that case, they want to just sell it quickly. Those are my clients help that demographic of people in the real estate space. So what I do is I help them with inbound lead generation. So basically, when someone first gets started as an investor, maybe they're just wholesaling, right? They basically get a property under contract. They try to get it just under, maybe like the $10,000 difference, so that basically they can get that property under contract, find an end buyer, and they basically make money on that difference. So maybe they have a $10,000 assignment fee that they'll make. So they're not actually buying the property; they're just getting it under contract, finding an end buyer, and they're kind of the middleman. That's wholesaling. A lot of people will start in real estate with wholesaling. It's really common nowadays, much more than it was 4 years ago. Um, or they're actually looking to sell it to a rehabber, right? Or they're looking to purchase it for themselves to do a rehab or innovation. But a lot of people will get into the business by cold calling, sending mail out, direct mail, maybe just networking and referrals. Once they get their business to a point where they have cash flow, they're doing multiple deals a month, then they basically look into doing inbound marketing online. So this is Google pay-per-click, Facebook, and eventually SEO as well. So that's what I help them with. I set up a system to manage their leads, follow up with their leads kind of in an automated way. Of course, they're going to be calling them, and also running and managing and optimizing their ad campaigns through Google and Facebook. So that's kind of like a brief overview.
So let's say I'm looking either even if I'm trying to buy it and resell it, or I'm just a middleman, however it is. When
Yep.
I come to you, your offer is that you are going to help manage it, manage the calls and the leads that I'm getting. You're going to help me find the leads on Facebook, Google, and these marketing. Like you're gonna optimize it. Is are you managing? Are you managing like the people that? I'm sorry, we're gonna. But sorry, let me just read. I'm gonna have to put myself in podcast mode. I'm back. Sorry, I have my. I'll edit that part out.
Yeah, no worries.
I'm gonna start over. So if I'm gonna buy a house because I'm gonna sell it to a refurbisher or any of those clients, I'm contacting you to so you can optimize my leads, get me more leads, manage my leads. And what does that mean? Manage your leads exactly? Like what are you doing?
Well, yeah, so I'm not actually calling their leads, right? What I'm doing is I'm setting up systems. So we have a CRM that we provide. A lot of investors I work with, especially if they already have a functioning business, have a CRM. already, and that's basically just where they manage all of their leads. Their team members are in there, they're in there, they see all the leads come in as all the information on each lead, when they've been contacted, where they're at in the pipeline. I have a system for investors that I provide that does that. But when a lead goes through the funnel, meaning like let's say a motivated seller is on Facebook or Google, and they come across our ads, whether they're searching on Google for help or they're on Facebook scrolling through their newsfeed. They submit on our form, right? They see, hey, I can get a cash offer on my house, and then they provide their information. That information then immediately goes into the CRM, and my clients are notified. But then that lead is then put on a follow-up campaign. So they're going to start receiving text messages, ringless voicemails, emails. It's basically a drip campaign that's all automated. So I kind of build that out for my clients. That's part of the CRM. And then the investor, right, or my client basically, or their team would then follow up with those leads, right? Call them, try to get in contact with them, and start they basically go through their acquisitions process. So that's what I'm not actually calling the leads. What I'm doing is I'm looking at the back end in their ads manager for Facebook or with Google PPC, and I'm making sure that everything is running how it's supposed to be, and I'm checking that on a every other day or so. With Facebook actually every day, but
Yeah.
so
A CRM, can you break that down a little bit for me?
yep. Yeah. So CRM, there's a lot of different, I mean, you can go online, there's like a million different CRMs out there, and you can find one for every different industry and business. A CRM is basically just like it's just a software, right? Or an app where you have all of your leads. And in there, you're going to have a pipeline, meaning that you're going to have like different buckets you put your leads in. So maybe you have like a brand new leads, okay? They're just maybe they haven't been contacted yet. And then the next stage of your pipeline is, okay, those leads have been contacted. Okay, now this is the follow-up stage. And then you have maybe you've done the first sales call, or the first they've got the property under contract, or whatever, depends on your industry. But you have different stages in your pipeline, so you can organize them in there. You have all of their contact information in there. You can assign tasks and different things to different team members, so you can see what stages, what things have been checked off, what's been done. It's just an organizational tool for all of your leads for your business, so that you're not just randomly following up with people and trying to remember things by just writing it down, or sticky notes or whiteboard or whatever.
Okay, well, that's very impressive. And so, what do you, when you do this, your business, are you getting paid a fee? Are you getting paid a commission? How exactly does this work?
Yeah, so it's basically a retainer model. So I I basically have it depends on the service, right? So let's say that they're just doing just Facebook ads, or they're just doing Google ads. So then I'm going to get paid by the client a certain amount per month, and that's my labor cost, right?
Mhm.
The cost for me to manage and optimize and do all of this work uh, on their system and on their ads. Um, and then, when I first work with someone, there might be a small setup fee depending on exactly what we're doing, but that's basically how I make my money. It's basically retainer model. The more services that we're providing to the client, the higher that is. Um, and it's basically standard across all my clients. So
Is that standard in your industry with your competitors? Are they charging the
yeah.
same way?
Yeah, and I mean, I price myself pretty pretty competitively, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right? It depends on the client too, because I've got some clients where I'm managing, $500 per day of their ad spend, right?
Yeah.
Or more. And so in cases like that, I do kind of a percentage of their ad spend is basically, but if it's a lower amount to start, there's just kind of like a set fee, and that's pretty competitive across my industry. That's how most people will do it. A lot of people will do, it's called the retainer model. There are some people who do uh, basically like commission of closed deals, but you really, really have to have your your everything kind of set up properly to do that, to track it all, and you have to have the right agreements in place, and you have to make sure you're working with the right clients. And there's just a lot more to it, so I like to keep it relatively simple.
Yeah, that makes sense. So when you started this, what got you into this field? Because it's a specific niche that you went
Yep.
after in the real estate. Like, were you into real estate beforehand? Was that something you were curious about?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, so when I was in college, I don't know if you've read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah, so that I read that in college, and I was like, okay, that's awesome. Like, I need to basically that changed my mentality. But I actually didn't implement or take action on any of that information until like basically 4 years ago when I started my company initially. But the reason I went for real estate is one, because of that already, like kind of, just understanding like, okay, that's a good niche to be a part of. The other is that my first mentor, when I first got into the marketing kind of business, the first mentor and the first person that I learned from on how to do this, he already basically had a business where he was working with wholesalers, rehabbers, and investors doing Google and Facebook ads, and that's what he was. Part of his program included materials to kind of teach how to do that, and so I learned a lot from him. And for me, it was just kind of a perfect way to go because I was like, well, this already makes sense. Like this is not only a skill, there's a lot of money in real estate, right? But there's also the what I learned from Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? And if I ever want to get into real estate in the future, like just being in that niche and in that industry in general is just a great direction to go. And so I just chose it, ran with it, stuck with it, got good results, and built my client base over time and just kept getting more and more experience, basically.
So, two questions I got. One, what were the lessons, the specific lessons that you took away mostly from Rich Dad Poor Dad? Just I'm curious. And two, your
Yeah.
mentor, where did you find him? Was that like just a professor of yours in college? Was it a friend? Was it someone you looked up?
Yeah, no. So to answer, so with Rich Dad Poor Dad, the biggest thing that I took from that was just the mindset. He has like the four quadrants. You've got like the what was it, the employee. You've got like I don't remember how he broke that up, but basically that idea of like, okay, you can either work, you can spend your time and money, right, for a job, right, or you can own a business, right, where it's like you're kind of leveraging your time and your money differently. And then there's certain asset types, right, where you put your money into an asset and then that returns passive income. Just different, just like the way of thinking, the way that he broke that down. That was basically what I remember taking the most from that. But in terms of where I first found my mentors, actually through a Facebook ad.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I was online, I was on Facebook, and I was already in the mind of like, Facebook's good at figuring out what you're interested in, right?
Yeah.
So I was already thinking about like, okay, how do I break out of like this kind of like, 9 to 5 kind of thing. Right. Actually, I was a gymnastics coach, so it wasn't 9 to 5. But I was like, I want to do something for myself, right? I want my own thing. I want my own business. I want to do something other. I need to do something different. And at the time, I was thinking, okay, web development, like I'll build websites. So I actually taught myself front and back end web development at the time. That took about a year. I built several websites. And then I saw his ad, and he was basically talking about, hey, you can build, a business doing marketing, and he just had really good ad copy and he's just really attractive. And so I got on the phone with them. They closed me as a new client, and so
Mhm.
I joined his program, right? And then I basically went from there. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go all in on this, and I just started taking action, basically.
So you found it very helpful. Like even though I don't know what it cost you, but even though that it was an upfront expense, you don't feel at the end of it you felt like this was really worth it. Like this.
Yeah, I mean, it was $1,500 at the time, which it's not bad. I mean, that's, a lot of courses, especially to learn this industry, to learn marketing, it's definitely, you can't just like go to college to learn it. You kind of have to pay, either it's online courses or get a mentor or something. Like you can't go to college to learn how to build a marketing agency, in my opinion,
Yeah.
just because there's so much niche specific knowledge and the industry is constantly changing super fast. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's definitely worth it. I mean, last year alone, I probably spent over 20 grand just in mentors. Um,
Wow.
this year, I'm not doing any of that. I've got so much, that I'm trying to implement already. But I see any investment in myself as a good thing. Now, I try to be careful about who I invest into, of course. But like
I'm curious
one of
about
my
it. How is that process? Like how do you come up with is this guy a charlatan or is this guy actually here to help me? Because like I've
yeah
gone through this myself, right? Like there's been moments in my personal journey where I thought, I would like to have somebody that I could speak to about this, and maybe a mentor would be a way to go. But
yeah
I'm distrusting by nature, so I'm not.
yeah yeah. So the thing is, like, there's a lot of there's multiple ways to think about it. Number one, you do need to do your research, right? So, get on a call with people, like, feel them out personally, listen to your gut. That's number one. Um, Number two is where are they at in their life and business? Like, if they're multiple steps ahead of you, then that is something to take, that's what you're looking for, right off the bat, first of all. And that's the way I think about it. Like when I'm trying to find someone, like if I have a problem and it's like, okay, I know I'm stuck and I know I want to get to here, but I don't know the bridge to get from A to B,
Yes.
right? So who's already here that knows how to go from where I'm at to where I want to be. And it's kind of like I have to go through like a little bit of an interview process, right? So I'll do my research, I'll try to find certain people, get recommendations from others, right? I'm a part of multiple communities. I can always ask people, hey, who's good for this? Who's good for that? As well as like how they present themselves, right? And look at their testimonials, look at that's another big thing. There's just basic background research, but the thing is like you gotta find someone that's like, okay, here's where they are, here's where I am, and they're gonna help me get to where they are, right? Or just get along farther in the path. Um, that's the main thing I look for, and then I just kind of, you have to talk to them and if it makes sense, right? Like some people I've gotten on the phone with, and it's just like, yeah, this could be helpful, but there's nothing in me that was like, oh yeah, like I really think this would be a great fit. And then there's other people where I talk to them and it's like I instantly knew like I'm gonna learn a ton from this person. I don't really mind if I have to pay them quite a bit of money. They're gonna get me to where I think I want to go. And even if they don't fulfill all my expectations, I know just by talking to them, still gonna learn a lot. And that alone is enough. That alone is like a lot of value provided. So anytime you spend a lot of money on a mentor, this is the thing is mentors, they can be expensive, but the way you have to think about it is like the more money you spend, the more that you are like, for example, if you, how do I explain this? Like if you spend $15 on something, whether that product works out or doesn't work out, it's like, okay, it was 15 bucks, no big deal, right? There's not a lot of investment. Like if you buy a $15 course, you might spend a few minutes looking at it, and if you feel like, like I don't really feel like it, you're not gonna. It's not gonna matter to you if you don't really invest into learning that course. There could be 150 hours of content,
Yeah.
but you only spent 15 bucks on the course, so you may not really even use it.
Yeah.
But if you spent $2,000 on that
Oh
course,
yeah.
you're gonna make sure you get your value out of it.
Yeah.
So by spending more, you're actually incentivizing yourself to get more out of it, and therefore you benefit more because what we're most afraid of is loss. Like human beings, we are far more motivated to take action to avoid a loss or to avoid like a bad situation than we are to gain something. We're far more motivated by risk of loss than we are for potential for gain. So,
Well, that's very true. It's funny. My mom at one point when I was training people, I had a whole bunch of clients. I had my own personal training.
yeah,
I had a whole bunch of clients, and at some point, my mom would come and work out with me, and she was consistent, but the level of workout and diet wasn't her best. Wasn't what she was able to her maximum ability, what she could do. But I realized that what's going on. She's like, "Oh, just come and train me. I don't want to work out with you. I want you to train me." That's the problem. It's not the fact that I'm not working out hard. I would work out hard if you came and train me. And I trained her, and she wouldn't work out hard. And I was like, you know what it is, Mom? I can't take money from you, obviously, but you and I,
there's got to be skin in the
there
game.
has to be skin in the game, and that's really what it was. That she had no skin in the game. So I got her one of my friends who's also a trainer. And I'm like, yeah, he gave her a very good discount, but still enough that it was. And I told him too, I said, don't make it enough that one, you're not motivated to come to work. I told him that I want you to actually train her. It's pointless not to. And two, I want her to feel that, it was, it's, this is a net positive for her. She needs that skin to give. She messes this up, she's going to lose this money, whatever it was at the time.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to think about it, and it's something that I've struggled with because you know I generally I'm not the guy that buys off of Google ads and Facebook ads. Like I've never seen it. Like I've seen someone go, that looks cool, but just the fact that it's an ad, I immediately, oh my god, there's a scam involved. I'm not dealing with it. Like it's just
yeah.
my
The only time I ever did that was the first time.
yeah, yeah.
Now I go through referrals.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's like, and most time when I see somebody selling something, even if that's not the truth, because I've sold stuff, obviously, and I've sold stuff on Instagram, Facebook as well. But I'm like, there's some bullshit here. That's just my overall mentality, right? So when I've looked to get into mentors, I always get that feel, and I know it's not 100% accurate, but I need to find a way to get past my bias, but at the same time keep my skeptical thinking. Because like especially in investing, like you'll hear people go like, "Oh, I made $10 million in investing. Take my course." It's like we made $10 million in investing, and you're trying to get me to pay $5. Like I'm doing it for the love. Are you doing it for the love? I don't know. Like I immediately it's how my brain goes. I don't know
Yeah.
when it's the real deal. So you recommend communities? Like which communities
Yes.
would you recommend?
Well, what I mean by community is like, let's say that you invest into a mentor. There's certain, like for example, one of the best mentors I ever had, he charged $2,000 a month,
Yeah.
and I was with him for 3 months. But I learned more from him than most of my other mentors, and things that he taught me back then. This was like 3 years ago. To this day, every other month, I remember something he said, and I'm like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
Now I understand what he meant. Like there's certain people that are like that, that just kind of imbue concepts into you, right? And different ideas and stuff that you may not even benefit from in the moment, but later down the road you will. So he was an individual, great mentor. Um, and then, but he didn't have a community around him. Like there wasn't like it's not like you join a Discord with a whole bunch of people in there, or a Facebook group and there's a whole community of other people in there, plus, the mentor and maybe, whatever, right? It was just him. But I benefited tremendously from him. However, I've had other mentors where I'll have like a one-on-one call with them once a week, and then they'll also have like all of the students in a Discord, like I mentioned, or some sort of community like that, where you can then network with all of them, and you not only are learning from the person that you signed up to get one-on-one help from, but you're also getting help from the entire community. And if it's you have to pay to be in that community, more the people in there are paying, and they're more invested
Yeah.
into getting value out of it, into helping each other, right? And so that's another thing to look for. If you're trying to find, okay, a mentor in whatever industry it is there a really solid, good group of people in the community that you're buying into? And do they bring in guests, like guest speakers, or do they provide? You just gotta like kind of assess that too, because that's a huge part of the value. And that, let's say that you get 6 months with the coach, okay, but then you have a lifetime access to this community. That's a huge, that could be really big, right? So I've invested in a couple of these communities. So whenever I need something else, I'll ask around in those and get more referrals, and it just kind of builds, right? You can build your network online.
Uh, so to switch the conversation a little bit to go back to the business,
Yeah.
right now with this business, I'm assuming you're doing most of the work, right? There's not like you don't have another employee doing, or do you have how many employees do you have if you have any?
Yeah, so no, I have a VA, and she helps me with kind of basic setups, and she helps me with really basic things. She kind of checks. She goes through every account every day, just visually, and just looks at the numbers and just posts it for me in a tracker, so that I can kind of get a bird's eye view of everything every day. But I personally manage the ads for both Facebook and Google. And more kind of complicated integrations and setups and stuff and customizations. I'll do that as well. At one point, I did have someone that I hired, but it didn't quite work out in the long run. The quality that I was looking for and the amount of time that he was able to commit at the time just wasn't a good fit. And so maybe in the future, I've been looking into maybe hiring someone for more help at some point. But my biggest concern is maintaining quality for my clients. Because if you do it yourself, like you know what's going on. But if you hire someone, they're never going to be you. They're always going to be like, at the best, maybe like 90% of you.
Yeah.
And so finding that person could be, a little bit of an investment in time and searching and applying, or, having people apply or things like that. So right now it's just me and the VA.
Do you feel that like it's something that I came across? I've actually asked a couple of guests this. When I had my personal training business, I remember at some point I went on a vacation. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go. I've been making some money. Like I'm
Yep.
going to take a vacation. I'm going to New York City, and I'm going to go to Amsterdam. I'm take 2 weeks off.
Yep.
And when I got back, a bunch of the clients were missing, and it was the first time I realized, and I had to build them back up, that I'm running a service, not a business. I can't separate myself from the business for a minute, the business drops down. It sounds to me that you're also in on a similar boat right now.
Right now, yeah.
How do you plan? Are you planning on? Are you just happy with this? Are you planning on scaling it to find a way to back yourself out and take a more managerial role or an oversight role so you could scale larger?
Possibly. It right now, like so I haven't hit my limit yet. I continuously get more and more efficient and build better and better systems, doing things myself with my VA. And so that's been great, right? Like I've also gotten higher and higher quality of a client over time. So when I first got started, it was a lot of, a lot of clients that just were kind of in and out, not great, not the best clients. Some were good, but others just it wasn't a good fit. And I didn't really know how to differentiate or qualify people. I didn't, I wasn't, of course, when you first get started in a business, you have to learn all these things. You have to learn, okay, like, how do you do like, how do you keep a client, right? Client retention, like, how do you, and also, improving my service in general, right? So my service has gotten better over time, so people will stick with me for longer and longer. Um, but basically where I'm at right now, the clients that I currently have are adding more services. So I can make more money with less clients. And so that's helping me just to scale in itself, right? And then they refer me to their friends, right? And these are larger and larger companies that I'm working with. So, as where before maybe a lot of my clients were only spending $1,000 to $1,500 a month. Now more and more of my clients are spending 10, 15 grand, 30 grand a month, and so I not only do I make more because I'm managing more, but the client is just a better quality client, easier to work with. And I'm doing Facebook and I'm doing their SEO, and their Google PPC. So it's more services. Um, so that is kind of like where I'm at right now. It's like it doesn't quite yet make sense to hire someone because I don't really need to yet. I can still do it on my
Yeah.
own because of the way things are going. But at some point, if I start doing more content, keep getting more referrals, keep growing, eventually, yeah, I'll have to decide and figure out, okay, where's the most effective point in my business right now that would make the biggest impact to have some help. Um, and how do I do that? So that's basically where I'm at.
So I understand you're doing great, and that's awesome. And I like the way that your thinking is in smaller incremental steps. But and the goal, meaning, do you want to have a large company with, six employees or seven, or I'm not sure how large these software companies are, but like even if it's not that large, or six, seven, 10 employees, that you have teams running that you're maybe over managing the team, so you've leveraged your time more efficiently, and also, at some point, I'm sure you're not going to want to work 365.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean it's for sure, building a business that runs itself, that's great. Like, that would be awesome. But you have to think about at the same time, like, where are you at now
Mhm.
and what makes the most sense for the next step and the next step, right? Like, yeah, sure, I'd like to get to that point. But okay, so like my company, we're set, like right now I'm set to do, projected to do 250,000 in revenue for this year, right? And I mean, you think about, okay, how much money am I gonna, how much money am I gonna make from that? And then you look at, okay, like what is the comparable jobs out there in the United States that make that much money, salary wise? I mean, it's pretty good, right? Like that's not, it's not bad where I'm at. But to fully remove myself, it has to be done in a way that isn't just gonna shake things up really, really quickly, right? Like that's the biggest thing is it's funny because me and my sister Stephanie, we're very different. Like she has always been moved very quickly, take just boom, 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 go, 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 go. And I like to be much more methodical, and move a lot slower. She got married at age 18
Yeah.
and just knew exactly what she was doing and just went for it. Me, it was a much longer process. Um, but that being said, like yeah, I want to get to that point, but I want to do it, because I've kind of tried like okay, let's just hire this person, hire that person, see how it goes. And then I realized like, okay, you need really, really, really need to hire slowly
Yeah.
and fire quickly. Like it's really important. Because you can really kind of shake things up with the business. And I like to just keep things steady. And it's, incremental improvement over time, 1% better every single day. You know what I mean? And I'll get there eventually. Just looking at the last year compared to where I was, and I push myself pretty hard. Like it's not that I don't push hard. It's just I want to where I'm at now. It's kind of like how do we preserve what we have and keep it continuously getting better without just trying to make big changes and just to get to this, kind of arbitrary, you know, goal out here where I just want to step by step.
Aggressive incrementalism. I like it. That's
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, the best companies in the world actually are built like that. Like, I just was at the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting in Omaha, and I was listening to Warren and Charlie talk, and they made sense. Like, they there was no point where they were doing anything with their capital that was silly, and they were speaking of how they built like $504 billion in shareholder equity for their shareholders. They have $125 billion in cash, and they talk about how they're putting it into business as long as it makes sense, and it's slow incremental movements up. They're not making, and they're able to make insane some of the biggest moves in the world. But it was fun that all the investors there, that all basically they're maybe the Buffett proteges, they all they're even the ones that own private businesses that weren't only investors in the public businesses, they had the same slow incremental, you know, production. Like they were like I remember one of the guys was telling me how one of the things he finds most important is to make sure that the business grows with its own money. So as long as I could,
Yep.
he's like, I won't grow my business past the point it's growing with its own money. So I'm never in a situation where I'm in debt or anything that can blow me up. To blow me up is much harder because everything I'm moving is with my own money. I'm not bringing outside capital.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And when you first like when I first started, you know, you have to move fast. You have to just take action. You have to be a little bit more. You have to go farther out on that risk curve because you're putting yourself out there, right? You maybe don't have as much experience. You don't have the testimonials. You don't have the case studies. You don't have a lot of the the support and everything that the systems. You just have to take action and try things until you can get to where you need to be. But once you get to that point, then it's like, okay, now how do I preserve it and continue to grow but maintain what I've built? Because it's like you go through a lot to build it. Like as you know, like you have to put in a lot of upfront energy and time and effort to get it off the ground. And then it's like, okay, I don't want to just throw things around, right? Hire this person, hire that person, and have it, go backwards a few steps. Maybe go back one step to go forward two is fine, but I don't want to go back 5 steps because of kind of like a hasty mistake, right? And so the other thing is I'm trying to build up cash reserves in the business as well. There's just like there's just a period right now of kind of like building a little bit, strengthen the foundation, and then use that as a springboard to make the next leap, where I have a little bit more wiggle room, both with cash that I can put towards hiring someone and trying things out. Um, and the other thing is I just moved. I just moved here. I'm trying to furnish this place. So that's another thing.
Yeah,
But
that's always another real world problem. Hey,
so
man, it's much appreciated. We hit the 30 minute. I'm trying my hardest to keep these things at 30. They're always going
yep.
on longer, but I promise everyone I do them the 30 minutes. And they go check my podcast. Bro, your podcast is an hour long. I'm like, no, I'm changing it. I promise. 30 minutes.
Sounds
Hey,
good.
man, it was much appreciated. Uh, any shout outs to anyone that wants to find you, that watches the podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter, Instagram, whatever you use?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on. A lot of people find me through YouTube. At the REI Inbound Strategist. You can just type that in, and I'll pop up with the Facebook and Google Ads videos and all that stuff. Instagram at Schlieps, which is my last name, Schlieps, and then you can also find me on Facebook, Derek Schleeps. Again, it'll have the banner says the REI Inbound Strategist there in blue. And I'm also on TikTok. Yeah, I don't remember what my TikTok handle is, but those are basically where you can find me. I've got a Linktree link. You can go to Linktree/Sleeps and find me there too.
Got cut off though. Somebody I think called through my thing, but yeah, I got the we got the whole LinkedIn everything cut. cut right there at the end as you finish.
Okay,
It came through.
no problem.
All right, man. Much appreciated, brother. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Check them out. Very young, inspiring entrepreneur. It made me want to get myself going. Thank you so much. Much appreciated.
Go on.